And I've said this to Deion Sanders, who's been a friend for decades. I love him dearly. I love him like a brother. And I've said to him, you're so big time as prime time. We're almost allergic to seeing you in the daytime. That's how big time you are. When we think about you, we think about bright lights because that's what he personifies. That doesn't vibe and coincide with Boulder, Colorado. I'm sorry. It just doesn't. Now, you want to remain as loyal as you possibly can to them. They gave you your shot. You were coaching at an HBCU, Jackson State, and they brought you to the Pac-12. You understand? And now you're in the Big 12. No doubt about it. You owe a debt of gratitude to that university, and you might not want to leave for something else. I wouldn't advise them to leave for Florida State. They had their chance to get him. They passed. Okay. If it's not an SEC team, I thought a Texas A&M should have looked at him. I thought a team like that, Alabama, even though I knew that would never happen. Something like that. Florida, you should look at him. If you decide to make a change, all true. That's SEC. We get that part. But outside of that, it's got to be the NFL. And I don't know how Prime Time could pass up a shot to coach the Dallas Cowboys.
That's what I am saying.
I can't imagine that he would do that. Now, I think that Jerry would be very hesitant, and here's why Jerry wouldn't do it. It's not because of inexperience. It's because Prime Time is every bit as box office as Jerry, if not more so. And so when he speaks, he's going to command a level of tension in front of that microphone that Jerry Jones could has to rival, that would have trouble rivaling. And that's not what Jerry wants. But it would obviously be the right decision for Jerry to make, because when you're talking about primetime coaching the Dallas Cowboys, well, sizzle and headlines make you money. That would be, from a business standpoint, an absolutely brilliant move by Jerry Jones. But what if Deion turns this team around and they get to an NFC championship game and they end up winning the Super Bowl? Then he'd get the credit, not Jerry. And if Jerry has proven anything else, is that credit means a lot to him. That's where he's at. That's what he stands on. And that's very, very problematic for the Dallas Cowboys when you look at their future. If anything, that's the ultimate indictment against Mike McCarthy. Because to coach the Dallas Cowboys in most instances, certainly not with Bill Parcells, certainly not with Jimmy Johnson, but in practically every other situation, Wade Phillips, Jason Garrett, Chan Gailey, others, the perception is that Jerry Jones wants a yes man as a head coach. And we know that ain't going to be prime time. But clearly that was something Mike McCarthy was willing to be. And that ultimately hurts him in the end.
Has been the greatest gem in college football, probably bigger than Nick Saban. I said it. The culture, what he means to so many different people, the swagger, the bravado, everything that he just embodies, it's prime, Coach Prime at that. But as a realist, somebody got to put the foot down and just speak facts. I believe in nepotism. I believe that, hey, everything that you're doing, you got to put your people on.
Yeah.
He's done that. But when you think about this statistic right here, Coach Prime has coached his son, Shedeur, in rec ball.
Yeah.
Some people call it rec ball. Some people call it park ball. Mm-hmm. He coached him in high school. Mm-hmm. He coached him in college. I don't know what the rap is of things that, the takeaways or what's his grade on the board. My biggest question for Shedeur Sanders is, can he be coached by other people outside of his father? Because when you look in the real world, Molly, when you look in the real world, RC, when you look in the real world, Stephen A., when you think about this statistics, you've only had one coach since you was 8 years old. Yeah. And now you're 22. Have you built this protection around, can somebody really, and has he really been coached the right way to be able to say, hey, boy, sit down and Oh, that should, hold on. Man, could you please sit down? Because the offensive coordinator or the quarterback coach is employed by his dad.
Yeah.
That's the realist. And what do you say to the NFL locker room of the veterans that have earned their right? Two, another question that I have is, what we've seen from Anthony Richardson this year, what we've seen from Bryce Young this year, can Deion bench his son? Can Deion cut his son, Shiloh? Or even just given the situation? Like, it's the big leagues in the NFL. And I know what that NFL locker room is going to look like, because now you're talking to men, not boys. You're talking to men that probably makes more money than you. So how do you say that in retrospect to that? And that's just something to just think about.
Let me counter that. First of all, Deion Sanders and I go back more than 2 decades. That's my brother. Got mad love for him. Very proud of the job that he's done at Colorado. I still think it was a huge mistake for Florida State not to bring him on board. He wanted that job, and they didn't give him that opportunity. I think that I would love to see him in the SEC with a big-time program with major dollars, where recruiting and NIL and all of that stuff wouldn't be an issue. Having said all of that, I think you asked the wrong question. You asked about Shedeur Sanders, and can he be coached by someone other than his dad? I would ask, can the dad coach someone else at the quarterback spot that ain't his son? See, I believe in Deion Sanders. I believe in the job that Deion Sanders has done to prepare his son for the next level. I believe in that. But in the same breath, to piggyback off of the points that you made, in terms of, you going to bench your son? Is somebody going to talk to this player, to your son, knowing they work for you, or the assistant coach, et cetera, et cetera? Yeah, you could ask that question that way. What I would ask is, okay, when your son ain't the quarterback anymore, you know your son backwards and forward. He's got your DNA, your swag, and everything that comes with it. We know who Shedeur Sanders is. We get all of that. What about when it's somebody else? See, when I saw that quote from Deion Sanders, I was very disappointed. I ain't call him about it. He's entitled to his feelings. It's his life, and he's accomplished what he accomplished. We ain't comparing him to Nick Saban. I got love for what Deion has done. He ain't no 7-time champion as a head coach on the college football level. He just started. He ain't going that far.
He's talking about more significance for the culture.
I know he brought in culture. I know that. But what I'm saying to you is that 7 national championships or culture over the last 2 seasons. I'm going to go with 7 national titles. That's all I'm saying. I think he'll win the Super Bowl. I believe in his brother that much. But it doesn't mean that we don't have to see it. And when I think about Deion standing in front of on a national television set and saying, if you coached your sons on the NFL level, Deion knows about the coach of the NFL just like you do.
I have no issue with it. I actually respect that he said it because it's honest, but I'm really curious to hear from Ryan Clark, who obviously is a Super Bowl champion and has a son currently playing at a high level in a national championship game. RC, were you able to hear Cam's comments off the top about Deion?
No, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I thought Deion was actually coming on the show. I went to say goodbye to Jordan. No, I wasn't even in here. I'm sorry.
Okay. All good.
Sorry.
Jump in if I don't correct right. But basically, really quick, to Cam's point, what he was saying. So obviously you heard RC, and you know that Deion said the only way he's going to coach in the NFL is if he coaches his son, Shedeur, and Shiloh. Stephen A. took issue with that. And to Cam's point, he was saying that Shedeur has only had his father coaching him his entire life, since he was 8 years old at Pop Warner through college, and took issue with that and highlighted how are players, veterans in the locker room going to look at that sideways, you know, your daddy, your son, that dynamic. And to that you say what?
Well, I say the first thing is, why can't we look at it the other way? Why can't we look at it and say that he wants to coach college ball unless he can coach his sons? That the only draw to the NFL for Deion Sanders will be making that next step with Shedeur and Shiloh. If not, I'll stay in college ball and continue to groom young men to become better adults and better humans and also better football players. And now on the other side of it, when Cam's saying how will people look at that in the locker room, I do believe that could become an issue. I do believe that you could sit in your spot or positioned in the meeting room and say, wait, you got on me the free safety because I missed the tackle, but you didn't put Shador up there when he threw the interception, or you didn't take an issue with what Shador has done as an individual within the locker room, the way you took exception with the way I have done or the way I've behaved within the locker room. So I do believe on that level that could become an issue, whereas in college it couldn't. And so for Deion Sanders, I don't think it's about picking apart whether or not he should be the coach of Shador and Shiloh in the league. I think it's about listening to him and saying that there is no draw to him to coach in the NFL if it wouldn't be on a team with his sons.
Listen, everything that everybody is saying is a valid point, and I think we've been so pro Deion that it's even hard for me to even have these type of conversations. But just like everybody's holding everybody accountable, nobody is getting spared the rod of like, hold on, bro, like enough is enough. But I honestly do think in my heart of hearts, I think Deion has had so much of a vested interest in his son that it has minimized his real capabilities of being the best coach that he possibly can be. And he's still been the best coach that he possibly is. I'm more excited that Shador, Shiloh, those guys go to the league, and now we see a better version of Deion Sanders. I have no doubt in my mind, because now it's not the emotion. It's not, the quality control. Like, hold on. We're not talking about that. We're not doing that. When you don't have none of those kids that share your last name in that locker room, now the best of the best. Now you don't have no conflict of interest, so to speak. And I know that that's going to bring a better version of Deion and in the coaching rank.
Well, I'm certainly, but I think that you did have the best of the best, because I think that Shador Sanders has proven himself to be pretty damn elite at the collegiate level. And I think that he's going to be big time on a pro level as well, assuming he gets a little bit bigger, because I think that he does playing against them men. When they're going to put a lick on him, he took a lot of licks in college. He can't take that on a pro level. I can tell you that right now. He's going to get if that happens, he ain't going to last long. So you got to protect him. But I'm just saying, flip side to that is, you Deion Sanders, I would want him to want to coach in the NFL for a different reason other than that.
Yeah.
That's all I'm trying to say.
So let me ask you this question. And this is uncomfortable, but it's real. Do you think Shador Sanders is a 4-year starter anywhere else outside of being coached by his dad?
A 4-year starter?
He is a 4-year starter. He was 2-year starter at Jackson State. He was another 2-year starter at Colorado. If Shador goes
I didn't see enough of him when he was younger. I think over the last 2 years, he was definitely worthy of being the starter, obviously.
2 years. But I'm saying going to the University of Georgia, Notre Dame, going to Texas,